What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So I want to start this series called Coffee and Culture, where clearly have a cup of coffee, and then we're just going to talk about the latest stuff that's been going on in, pop culture and just YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and all of that good stuff. But today specifically I want to talk about Demi Lovato's recent overdose and Boonk gang and all of his interviews where he is very clearly high. I want to start off by saying I'm not going to be disrespectful towards either one of them. I'm going to put any personal biases I have about drug addiction or anything aside. I just genuinely want to talk about it because I feel like it's such a big issue that everybody has a lot of mixed feelings about. So everybody has seen recently that Demi Lovato overdosed and she is now in the hospital. Originally they said that she had overdosed on heroin, which I know I was personally shook because I knew that she struggled with like opioid, like prescription painkillers and stuff like that. I didn't know like all about the heroin and all that, so I was really shook. And I was surprised, but then it's also like, she had released that song called Sober, where she basically talked about how she had recently broke her 6-year sobriety and that she was, struggling again. So it was also kind of one of those things where it was like, oh man, like she was talking about it, but we weren't expecting all of that to happen. Well, first of all, Twitter and Instagram and everything else were just in shambles because obviously people have a lot of mixed feelings about drug addiction because a lot of people feel like drug addiction is a choice, and then you have the other people where they feel like drug addiction is, it's a disease. You can't argue with the fact that it's a disease because there is scientific proof that states that it's a disease. Y'all can look it up. I'm not about to be fact checking and putting all that stuff in there. Maybe I'll add some links in the bio, maybe, I don't know. But y'all are grown, you could do the research yourself. But there is scientific proof that drug addiction is a disease. However, there is the other side of the argument where a lot of people feel like we have all these warnings and stuff. You have TV shows like Intervention. You have people like Dr. Phil. I don't know if that's a good example, but Dr. Phil, people have even seen, their own family members. We've seen rappers, actresses, actors, a whole bunch of people who struggle with drug addiction. And it's not like we don't have warnings about it, because we do. So that's why a lot of people are like, well, if you choose to, get into drugs, if you choose to try it, you should know what you're getting yourself into automatically. Okay, that's one side of the argument. And then there's the other side where, drug addiction is a disease. So there is a lot more stuff that goes into it other than, just sitting out here talking about, oh, well, I just, you tried it and you know what you were getting yourself into, so you should have been ready and you should have been prepared for it. There's stuff that goes into it, like genetics. If someone in your family deep down the line, there's people who, you try it, you think that you can try it once and not. Anyways, sorry guys. What I was saying was there's the obvious other side where there are things such as genetics and, people who have been in some type of accident, they've had to have a surgery, they get prescribed a medicine, and, they become dependent on that medicine because they don't want to feel any type of pain that they were in. There's stuff that happens, so it's a really touchy subject because a lot of times people can see both sides of the argument. I see both sides of the arguments. I know people who have struggled with drug addiction. I've seen people who, use drugs as a way of self-medicating, which brings me to Boonk. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but Boonk gang. I really need to find out this man's government name because I don't know. But I personally was never really a fan of him. I didn't understand why people liked him so much because I wasn't really a whole fan of the, walking into stores and grabbing stuff and running out, going into tattoo shops and getting a tattoo and running out. I didn't understand the appeal because I felt like he was embarrassing himself and getting himself into trouble need to be in. He was very clearly high, couldn't get out full sentences. He spilt his water all over like himself, and I believe he spilt it all over the person who was interviewing him. He also at one point like tried to stand up, and he like completely fell over, and his friend actually basically like had to hug him to like keep him up. There's another video that recently surfaced where he was lying like on the ground, passed out, and the people recording had put like, man, this nigga is annoying. And it looked like he was barely breathing. His eyes looked like they were like they were shut, but they looked like they were like also rolled into the back of his head. Just a whole mess. So, he tweeted out a tweet that basically said something about, when I do drugs because it numbs my pain. When I don't do drugs, I feel everything and I want to feel nothing. So, obviously, that's a problem. First of all, I think he needs better friends because real friends will not have you out there like that at all, under any circumstance. Your real friends would not let you be out here doing an interview when you were that messed up. They wouldn't be recording you and then talk about man, he's so annoying. No, it's not. No, he needs serious help, guys. He needs someone to talk to. I don't know what his like personal background is. I don't know if he grew up struggling, and the fame just all kind of hit him at once, and it was hard for him to handle, and he just got around the wrong people, the wrong crowd, started doing the wrong things, and now he's at this point where he's so dependent on the drugs, like he said, to make him feel nothing and to deal with whatever it is, whatever demons it is that he is dealing with, versus I correct me if I'm wrong, I know a lot of people didn't really have a lot of sympathy for Demi just because I believe that she's been in the spotlight for like a very long time, ever since she was young. And she has had, like, from what I understand, she's had a lot of resources from when she was real young up until now. Obviously, that doesn't mean that she's not allowed to have problems. She's talked about dealing with things such as depression. She's talked about dealing with bipolar disorder, I believe. So, being rich, having fame does not mean that you don't have problems. She's also, I believe, talked about how her father really wasn't very involved in her life, and he actually was a drug addict, and from what I understand, she said something along the lines of, when I first started trying drugs, I did it because I wanted to see, like, why my dad chose this over his entire family. So, both situations, very sad either way you put it, whether the person has been in the spotlight from a very young age, has had resources all their life to not be addicted to drugs, or someone who got thrown into fame at a very young age, gained wealth very quickly, possibly was already doing drugs to deal with stuff from a very dark childhood, either way that it goes. I think the thing that sets both situations apart, though, is the different ways that Demi has been treated and the way that Boonk has been treated, because obviously with her recent overdose, she got an overwhelming amount of support and love from other celebrities, from people who stand her, people who feel bad for her, because obviously drug addiction and overdosing, that's a big deal. It's sad. Versus people with Boonk, a lot of what I had saw on Twitter when it came to people who did not feel bad for Demi and were calling her a crackhead, which we shouldn't do under any circumstance with anything. It's not okay. It's a drug. It's a joke that I feel like everybody has a tendency to make, and we shouldn't at the end of the day. But the people that I saw that were calling Demi a crackhead and were saying that she should be treated as such, and that it was her fault for overdosing and that she doesn't deserve sympathy, basically pointed out the fact that she had all this love and support and things like that, but when it came to other celebrities like Whitney Houston, Bobby Brown, Lamar Odom, people such as that, they got called crackheads and they were demonized, and they felt like she should be treated the exact same way. So one thing that I will say just about like Whitney and people like that, I don't want to go too far off topic with them, but I also feel like nowadays we have a little bit more of an understanding when it comes to drug addiction versus, back in the 80s, the 90s, when they were very, clearly addicted to drugs and they were going through it and things like that. I don't feel like we had as much of an understanding and, as much proof about it being a disease as we do now. And I don't think that people really thought about all the factors of like being thrown into fame at a young age and, being overwhelmed with all this money and not knowing what to do with it, things like that. So I do feel like that's maybe one thing that sets like Whitney and Bobby apart. And also I feel like with Lamar, I feel like a lot of the situation with him had to do just with the people that he was surrounded with. You guys know who I'm talking about. I don't feel like they helped paint him in any better light. I don't really think that anybody ever, not saying that they never tried to help him, but I don't think that the support was as strong as it could have been from his family members, stuff like that. So I just really hope that, Demi is able to, conquer her battles, conquer her demons. She's in the hospital right now from what I understand. She's really sick following the overdose. She's going through, I guess, stuff that people typically go through after overdosing, nausea, high fever, things like that. So, I'm hoping that whenever she is released from the hospital, she does go back to rehab, she does get back to being sober, and she does continue to live her life and, use her platform as she has been doing to educate against doing drugs and addiction and things like that, and, just properly educate the public, because we still need a lot of education when it comes to it. And my hope for Boonk is that, someone out there, whether it's his family, his friends, whatever, I hope that somebody does help him, because he clearly is crying out for help. And I really don't want the Black community or anyone to just write it off just because, people feel like he got himself into it. I really and truly hope that we sit here and we take it seriously, because we always talk about like Black men not being able to express themselves and talking about Black men's mental health and stuff. And I feel like, if we help him, it could be a really, really good start to actually doing something about this conversation and not just talking about it. I really hope that he goes to rehab, that he gets the proper, I just want the man to make it, because I don't think that he deserves it at all. And I know that a lot of people would agree with that. So you know, leave your comments down below. Let me know what you think about the whole situation. I'm probably going to film another video talking about the celebrity beef, just because I know a lot of people also wanted to see that. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Please, please, please remain respectful. Everybody, at the end of the day, we're going to have different beliefs on everything, but I don't feel, no disrespect. Don't be dis. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you guys in my next video.